Chapter 8. Thinking in the Certain Way. Turn back to Chapter 6 and read again the story of the man who formed a mental image of his house, and you will get a fair idea of the initial step toward getting rich. You must form a clear and definite mental picture of what you want. You cannot transmit an idea unless you have it yourself. You must have it before you can give it. And many people fail to impress thinking substance because they have themselves only a vague and misty concept of the things they want to do, to have, or to become. It is not enough that you should have a general desire for wealth to do good with. Everybody has that desire. It is not enough that you should have a wish to travel, see things, live more, etc. Everybody has those desires also. If you were going to send a wireless message to a friend, you would not send the letters of the alphabet in their order and let him construct the message for himself. Nor would you take words at random from the dictionary. You would send a coherent sentence, one which meant something. When you try to impress your wants upon substance, remember that it must be done by a coherent statement. You must know what you want and be definite. You can never get rich or start the creative power into action by sending out unformed longings and vague desires. Go over your desires just as the man I have described went over his house. See just what you want and get a clear mental picture of it as you wish it to look when you get it. That clear mental picture you must have continually in mind as the sailor has in mind the port toward which he is sailing. You must keep your face toward it all the time. You must no more lose sight of it than the steersman loses sight of the compass. It is not necessary to take exercise in concentration, nor to set apart special times for prayer and affirmation, nor to go into the silence, nor to do occult stunts of any kind. These things are well enough, but all you need is to know what you want and to want it badly enough so that it will stay in your thoughts. Spend as much of your leisure time as you can in contemplating your picture. But no one needs to take exercises to concentrate his mind on the thing which he really wants. It is the things you do not really care about which require effort to fix your attention upon them. And unless you really want to get rich, so that the desire is strong enough to hold your thoughts directed to the purpose as the magnetic pole holds the needle of the compass, it will hardly be worth for you to try to carry out the instructions given in this book. The methods herein set forth are for people whose desire for riches is strong enough to overcome mental laziness and the love of ease and make them work. The more clear and definite you make your picture then, and the more you dwell upon it, bringing out all its delightful details, the stronger your desire will be. And the stronger your desire, the easier it will be to hold your mind fixed upon the picture of what you want. Something more is necessary, however, than merely to see the picture clearly. If that is all you do, you are only a dreamer and will have little or no power for accomplishment. Behind your clear vision must be the purpose to realize it, to bring it out in tangible expression. And behind this purpose must be an invisible and unwavering faith that the thing is already yours, that it is at hand and you have only to take possession of it. Live in the house mentally until it takes form around you physically. In the mental realm, enter at once into full enjoyment of the things you want. Whatsoever things ye ask for when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them, said Jesus. See the things you want as if they were actually around you all the time. See yourself as owning and using them. Make use of them in imagination, just as you will use them when they are your tangible possessions. Dwell upon your mental picture until it is clear and distinct, and then take the mental attitude of ownership toward everything in that picture. Take possession of it in mind in the full faith that is actually yours. Hold to this mental ownership. Do not waver for an instant in the faith that is real. And remember what was said in the preceding chapter about gratitude. Be as thankful for it all the time as you expect it to be when it has taken form. The man who can sincerely thank God for the things which as yet he owns only in imagination has real faith. He will get rich. He will cause the creation of whatsoever he wants. You do not need to pray repeatedly for things you want. It is not necessary to tell God about it every day. Use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, said Jesus, said to his pupils. For your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things before ye ask him. Your part is to intelligently formulate your desire for the things which make for a larger life, and to get these desires arranged in a coherent whole, and then to impress this whole desire upon the formless substance, which has the power and the will to bring what you want. You do not make this impression by repeating strings of words. You make it by holding the vision with unshakable purpose to attain it, and with steadfast faith that you do attain it. The answer to prayer is not according to your faith while you are talking, but according to your faith while you are working. You cannot impress the mind of God by having a special Sabbath day set apart to tell him what you want, and then forgetting him during the rest of the week. You cannot impress him by saving special hours to go into your closet and pray. If you then dismiss the matter from your mind until the hour of prayer comes again. Oral prayer is well enough and has its effect, especially upon yourself, in clarifying your vision and strengthening your faith. But it is not oral petitions which get you what you want. In order to get rich, you do not need a sweet hour of prayer. You need to pray without ceasing. And by prayer, I mean holding steadily to your vision with the purpose to cause its creation into solid form, and the faith that you are doing so. Believe that ye receive them. The whole matter turns on receiving once you have clearly formed your vision. When you have formed it, it is well to make an oral statement addressing the Supreme in reverent prayer, and from that moment you must, in mind, receive what you ask for. Live in the house, wear the fine clothes, ride in the automobile, go on the journey, and confidently plan for greater journeys. Think and speak of all the things you have asked for in terms of actual present ownership. Imagine an environment and a financial condition exactly as you want them, and live all the time in that imaginary environment and financial condition. Mind, however, that you do not do this as a mere dreamer and castle builder. Hold to the faith that the imaginary is behind realized, and to the purpose to realize it. Remember that it is faith and purpose in the use of the imagination which make the difference between the scientist and the dreamer. And having learned this fact, it is here that you must learn the proper use of the will. End of the chapter. Now, let's decipher this chapter a little bit, because I think there is much to decipher, and I use decipher properly because I think this word is very, very accurate in those settings, the settings of the teachings of William Wattles, especially this chapter. Now, this chapter is really interesting for many reasons. First and foremost, I think, and I'm not sure, I would have to verify this historically, but I think in this chapter particularly, William Wattles is taking a few shots at Neville Goddard and maybe even Joseph Murphy when he talks about going in the closet, because going in the closet is obviously going in the closet and praying to your Father in silence. This is a quote from a Bible that is used a lot by Neville Goddard. That was used a lot by Neville Goddard. And he also mentioned about going into silence, which is something that Neville Goddard would end his lectures with. Now let us go into the silence. So I'm just speculating, obviously, but I would not be surprised because there are a few other things that slip my memory right now that also feel like shots at Neville Goddard, but they are more specific, and I have written them down somewhere. But I digress. Let's get to the point. The point of this chapter, and why I'm actually reading it to you guys and explaining it, is because even though he might take shots at Neville Goddard, and even though even within this chapter there are things that seem contradictory. He talks about not using vain repetition, but not having an oral statement, but still having an oral statement, and holding on to that vision, and this is how you impress the thinking substance, etc., etc. There are many things that if you read it the first time are contradictory. And I do not agree with everything, but I also do not disagree with everything, because I think the essence of the chapter is the most important thing, which is what I agree with wholeheartedly, which is having the faith and actually living the life as if we already lived the life we want to live, which is pretty much the same thing as Neville Goddard, what Neville Goddard called living in the end. He talks about praying without ceasing, and let's not misconstrue this as always having to believe, for example, that you have a specific person right next to you. I don't think he meant it that way. I'm almost sure he didn't mean it that way. And for me, it all boils down to the thoughts you have. And not paying attention to the lack, which means letting go of the desire. For example, if you think about your specific person right now, you think about this specific person, and you have desire for this specific person, which in other words translate as having a lack. Because if you desire a specific person, and I'm not talking about in an intimate sexual way right now, I'm talking about, because in that case that would be okay, because that's part of being in a relationship. But if you desire to be with this specific person, knowing that this specific person is not with you right now, that is just lacking the person. The desire translates as lack. Whereas when you live in the end, when you visualize this person, when you hold the faith, when you hold fast to your belief that you are with this person, which means living in the end, you are with this specific person. So you have not desire for this specific person. You have not the desire to be with this specific person anymore, for you are actually already with this specific person. And when you pray without ceasing, it means that you never stray away from this vision of already being with this specific person. In this example, obviously, it could be money, it could be a car, it could be a house, whatever the case might be. So when you hold steadily, when you're persistent, as Neville Goddard said, when you have a persistent assumption that you are with this specific person, when you hold faith to this vision, as William Wattles would say, when you pray without ceasing, it means that you're living in the end. And living in the end doesn't mean that you have to repeat and visualize 24/7. That's not the case. Yes, do it as much as you possibly can. That's what he said. In your leisure time, contemplate your vision as much as you can. And I have to agree with this. Do this as much as you can, because you can get so easily distracted in this war of Caesar, as Neville Goddard would say. In this external war, you can lose yourself so easily. So it is important, especially at the beginning, to build your faith. And it takes a while to build your faith because you will be met with contradictory thoughts, contradictory feelings, doubts, fear, anxiety, and all this kind of unwholesome emotion. So at the beginning, you have to deal with those. You have to let go of them. You have to rewire your brain, etc., etc. And this is made simple by just letting go of the thoughts that you don't want to have and encouraging the thoughts that you do want to have, which pretty much mean letting go of the negative thoughts and replacing them with the thoughts, which Neville Goddard would call the new conversation. And I'm sorry to talk so much about Neville Goddard, but I'm trying to talk about this chapter in a way that is the most understandable. And for me, that's my humble opinion, I think Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy are the two authors of the law of attraction. They explain the law of attraction in a way that is not only simple to understand, but also very, very practical. I would say that this chapter, even though its essence is practical, when you read it at first, it might not sound as practical. That's why I'm giving you examples of Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy for you to understand. So when you read this chapter, you have to finish reading with the thoughts of and the understanding that you must be in control. When he say pray without ceasing, I would translate this as guarding your mind. And guarding your mind does not mean that you have to live Indian all the time. Yes, live Indian as much as you possibly can when you have time. When you wake up, before you go to sleep, sometime in the day when you are doing something that doesn't need your conscious mind to think or conscious mind to focus, then you can do. When you're doing the dishes, when you're walking your dog, when you are taking a shower, brushing your teeth. Whenever your mind is on autopilot during the day, that's the time when you want to visualize, when you want to do your affirmations, for example. I think affirmation is easier for most people during those idle moments because visualize takes more focus, whereas you can go on a loop of affirmations pretty easily. I would guess for most people, from the people I know, from my clients, etc. But if you can visualize on a loop, even during those idle moments during the day, on a walk, doing the dishes, your chores, etc., by all means, that works too. So that's what he means by praying without ceasing. Do it during your leisure time, but in the meantime, do not let your mind stray away from the vision, which doesn't mean that you're living in the end, but it means that you do not react to the world. You do not let your contradictory thoughts come and spoil your vision. That's what Joseph Murphy would call digging out the seed. When you do those affirmations, when you live in the air, visualize, script, whatever the case may be, you planting the seed and you nurture it. When you have those negative thoughts, when you react negatively to a situation, to an event, you are digging out the seed. Now, obviously, you are not putting a seed and every time you have a negative thought, it will dig it out, because it's all about the dominant vibe. Let me revisit. Let's not talk about mood and vibration. It's all about the dominant thoughts. David Hawkins, the great David Hawkins, used to say that what we hold in mind tends to manifest. So if you hold in mind, the most dominant thought you hold in mind is what is aligned with your end. What is living in the end in your wish fulfilled. If that's 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% of the time you are focused on this, then you're in the right direction. As long as it's the dominant thought, it's okay. Obviously, that's liberating. Try your best. Try your best. And always believe you're doing it right. And by doing your best, what I'm trying to say is, obviously, it is a laborious task, that's William Wattles, to think the thoughts you want to think, even though appearances, events, and circumstances might deny them. Which, in other words, Neville Goddard will also say that an assumption persisted upon will harden into fact, even though your senses might deny it. So keep on thinking the thoughts you want to be translated in a tangible form in your outside world, which William Wattles will also call the truth. The truth is the thoughts you have decided are the truth for you. So if you happen to be poor but your truth is being rich, then keep on holding that faith and that truth in your heart, in your mind, as much as you possibly can. And every time you seem like you're straying away, do not dwell upon it, do not beat yourself up, and always revert back to your faith. Always revert back. That's all you need to do. Live in the end when you have time, during the right moment, and in between those moments, do not let anything come into your mind that disrupted vision, as much as you possibly can. The closer you are to 100%, the better. Neville Goddard talks about your desire will fulfill itself faster when the intensity to which you hold it in your mind is strong. So the stronger it is, the faster it will manifest. Now, that doesn't mean that some desires you have might not take a longer time, even though you are holding the faith, because that's the bridge of incidence. Things might come sooner, things might come later. And a lot of people don't want to hear this, because I think one of the mistakes that a lot of content creators make, and I don't know if they do it intentionally or not, is to tell that you can get anything instantaneously. That's simply not true. Okay, let me replace by instantaneously by very quickly, as that's not true at all. If you're homeless and you start dreaming about being a millionaire, yes, it could happen that you win the lottery because you bought a ticket, but that's not always the case. It might take a longer time. There's a lot of things that might need to happen for you to go from your homeless position to being in the position of a millionaire. If you have a specific person who is across the world, let's say we have COVID restriction, and this person happens to be at a job that she loves, or she or he loves, and in a relationship, and you want to manifest them in your life, well, it might take some time. I'm not saying it's supposed to take a long time, but it might take longer than, for example, if you happen to have a specific person who is your neighbor, who lives, who lives across your building, who is someone who is part of your entourage, and who is single. That's a lesser bridge of incidence, if you will, because the path towards being with you is much, not simpler, but much quicker. So it doesn't matter how long it takes. For you, your only job is to live in the end, and to not let negativity dug up those seeds. That's all you need to do. But that's it for now. I don't want to I talked more than I wanted to, but anyway, that's my style. I always do this. I hope you guys understand. Please like, share, and subscribe for more of this type of content. I also offer some coaching, links in the description box below. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you very soon.